Okay, so we're going to be doing a game debrief of Quick Match Adventures 4. If you haven't seen the game, it's in the description below. But you do not need to see that at all to understand what's going on. First, I want to do a quick shout out to Optimus Crime 4444 for giving me some tips and tricks on how to do a faster initial opening and get my scout right here come out faster to scout. As you can see here, at around 8, 9, 9, 10, 10 seconds. 10 seconds and my scout comes out of the base. Before, I would take around 18 to 20 seconds before the scout starts scouting. So thank you for that, Optimus Crime. Taking a look at the mini map, we can see that our food sources are here, here, here. And the berry bushes, that's the one that's at the base, so we don't want to consider that. Now, knowing the map, we can see that if we want more food, we have to move out this way in particular. If we want to secure the food, we need to secure this line into possibly this line, or maybe even this line into this line. A conservative wall would be around here into here. This is the area where we have to secure the map control if we want to have steady food until Castle Age, until our farm transition. This map also has deep water fish. Let's take a look at that fish real quick. There are three water fishies, deep fishies in the water. For some people who don't play naval maps, deep water fish is infinite. Deep water fish, unlike shoreline fish, which, once you gather this, it's gone forever. But deep water fish would regenerate after a while. So, in theory, you could have around 3 to 5 fishing boats per deep water fish. Though in this game, I did not take deep water fish. I did not take the water at all because I had lost map control. Taking a look once again at the map, we see that secret site. There's one here. Whoops. And there's one here. So these two secret sites, that's where the fighting is most likely going to be. Conveniently, it's right where our opponent is too, and that right where we are. So it is going to be a clusterfuck of a game. The way the map is split out, as you can see, there's two angles of approach here. You can either go this way to attack or this way to attack. I believe most opponents will wall off their side of the map, and so will you. If you were to attack this way, it's more about gaining map control of the resources, right? If you attack this way, what you secure would be the trading post and the secret site. Our opponent spawns with 2 deer in the back, as you can see, away from the front lines where most of the fighting will be. So that's quite a lucky spawn for him. He's got berry bushes here, here, and here. His gold is quite up the front, so it's quite a priority for him that he secures this line here to make sure that he gets access to gold for the late game. Let's take a look at my situation and my spawn. My nearest food source is up the front. This is quite unfortunate for me because I am playing Sushi Legacy. Sushi requires a lot of food. They need the food to quickly produce units using the Imperial Officer's supervising ability. They can pump out units very fast, very quick, but they need a lot of food to sustain that. And if they do not have food, then they will lose tempo. And if you lose tempo as Sushi, it becomes a very hard game. From my experience of playing around 20 to 30 games of Sushi, I've realized that food for Sushi is really, really important. I get slightly lucky here as my secondary gold spawns right outside my base at the back. So gold is not an issue for me this game. However, my other food sources, this one and this one, spawns a bit further away from my base. This is a bit of an issue because this means that I will have to play a bit of a slightly defensive game trying to secure this area as much as possible so that I can sustain my feudal pressure or just pressure in general. Without food, I am screwed, as we will find out soon. Both me and my opponent have frontside gold, as you can see. This is my opponent's gold up front. He got quite lucky that his gold is like this. This means that he can easily wall off like this, and like this if he wanted to, securing all 3 gold. So my opponent is quite lucky in that regard, but that's okay. We play with what we got. The game might not be balanced at all times, but we will always have the mentality and attitude that we can get through it. Spoiler alert, I did not get through it and I lost this game. Just noticing this now, he also has a boar right next to his gold. So one white tower here. This is a white tower, as you can see from my drawing. It's got arrows, so we're gonna draw guns, because that's what white towers actually do. Here I accidentally wander into his base. Disclaimer, I don't know this map. This is the first time I've played on this map, so everything was a bit of a surprise for me. I assumed that my opponent would spawn on this side of the map, and that's why I scouted this way into this way, because I was going to loop around here and then loop around back here. I didn't really know the map. Now, I think the right play would have been to go this side to the scout, and then this side back to base with the sheep, and then and then scout this side. I think that probably was the better play, but I decided to go into here to have a look. I age up with 3 villagers. The reason why I'm aging up with 3 in this game is because I want to get the meditation garden up relatively quickly so that I can get units out. Because I know that he's playing English. Both their landmarks are actually quite aggressive. The king that comes out of the Abbey of King can harass, which he does in this game. Same as the council hall. You know, bunch of archers coming out. He can play defense with the longbows, or he can play aggressive with the longbows. Let's see the sheep. Okay, so I lost by 3 sheep. He won by 3. We're off to a bit of a rocky start with the sheep gathering. From this point on, these guys should have been up here with an outpost. The correct play, I believe, would be putting an outpost right here, and then putting a mill, that's a mill, M for mill, right here. Maybe even a mill out here to get the deer first would be important, and then an outpost, you know, a little tower. This is a tower that shoots stuff. Okay, maybe a tower out here would be good too, but regardless, this entire area needed a mill and a tower. That's 150 wood, which I definitely have enough for. However, I went for a stable opening. The king comes in. I had to put my villagers into the village. A bit of a slow reaction here, coming back out. My opponent scouts my side. Let's have a look at what he actually sees. So he can see my stable. He knows my horsemen are coming. Here, I chase away the scout because I don't want him having vision of what else I do. I don't think he saw my barracks that I built at the back. At 6 minutes 30, the king comes in once again for another raid. Now, I've talked about this in the previous video. If someone does something once and it worked, they're probably gonna do it again. And that's exactly what happened. He attacked my food source, he got some damage in, I didn't respect or respond to that attack, so now he does it again. What I should have done after being attacked the first time here is build a wall over here and then over here. This wall would have probably cost me around 100 wood, or maybe even less. It would have cost the same amount as building this outpost. My logic here for building an outpost is that I wanted to secure my gold. I wasn't thinking about this passage here into my base, which is very easy to get into and out. A wall here, and then a wall into here would have been very good. This would have kept out the king, it would have kept my food safe, kept my gold safe, and then kept my wood line safe. I also have to be very careful when I draw these circles and lines, in case I draw a dick and, you know, onto YouTube and get my video banned. Here I push this king with my horseman. I noted that the king would easily kill the horseman, but I wanted to push him back to base, secure some map control. This one horseman is doing a lot of value. You know, it's keeping him back at base, keeping him running around, keeping him not on my base, which is very good. So thank you, Mr. Horseman. MVP of the game. That's a P. My opponent does an early farm transition, as you can see here, in between his two town centers, which makes them very protected. The way he placed his town center was, honestly, chef's kiss, perfect. I have to respect this. There's enough space for a farm, the rest of the farms here, as you can see. And he placed it so well. It's like he calculated this. So much respect for that. This side here, he covers the vision by having a campfire here. That's very smart of him. So rather than a full wall here at the start, he decides to go for this. He's got vision of people coming in. He didn't have to waste a bunch of wood building the wall quite yet, which is very valuable at the stage in the game. And the campfire is only 25 wood. And if he does get attacked, he can also just put his villagers into the second TC. I think this is a very smart play. He outposts his gold, as you can see. My outpost of my gold is done, and my troop are placed at the front. At this point in the game, I had enough wood. I definitely should have just walled this off. This was, honestly, would have been a 10 out of 10 quick wall. Cheap to do, easy to do, and covers a whole bunch of things. Absolutely 200% efficient wall. I decided to gather some stone over here. The logic was that I wanted to get hand cannon slits. Now, hand cannon slits, I feel like, is such an underrated part of Sushi Legacy in Chinese. Because the amount of damage they do is actually a lot, and it's so cheap. Only 25 gold and 50 stone. You know, that's really not that expensive. That's 75 resources gathered for, let's see how much damage. 25 damage. Okay, let's do some math. One longbow deals 6 damage every 1.62 seconds. Now, we're going to normalize this attack speed so that it matches, or roughly matches, the hand cannon slit. Every around 3.24 seconds, we'll round it down to 3. Every 3 seconds, a longbow would then deal 12 damage. A hand cannon slit deals 25 damage every 3 seconds. Therefore, one hand cannon slit is worth around 2 longbows. Now, when the villagers are garrisoned inside the outpost, this is how much damage they do. 30 damage every 3.88 seconds. For simplicity's sake, we're going to round this down to 3 seconds rather than 3.88, even though that's closer to 4. This means that every 3 seconds, one outpost with 5 villages garrisoned and a hand cannon slit installed is roughly equivalent to 4.5 longbows. So when my opponent pushes me into my base, as you can see here with his 16 units, I have 10 units, but in reality, I actually have around 15 units because of my outpost. The extra DPS from the outpost should be counted when you are defending. Now, at this point in the game, my villagers are wandering back and forth trying to find food. I did something really ridiculous here. Let's rewind a few minutes and see. I went Pro Scout. That's right, I went Pro Scout at bloody almost 8:59 minutes. Why did I do this? The reason why I went Pro Scout was because I realized at this point that I was going to run out of food. And the food in the front here, as you can see, is not to my favor. it's on the middle of the map. Let's look at our map again. Yeah, our food's out here. 2 food sources are the closest food source to my base. But it's also on the front lines. It's also where the map control is being fought. If I can get all these deer to come back to my base, maybe I will have more chance. And then I can get this deer down here as well to come back to my base, and that would be good. Then perhaps I can secure the other 2 deer at the back. So that was my logic. However, disaster struck, as you will be able to tell later in the game, and I will show you. What actually happened was that I could not pro scout this. This was covered. They had this covered. I could only pro scout this at the back, which in hindsight now is not worth. Honestly, it would have been much better had I just moved my villagers all the way back to this deer pack, and then shift over to here, and then just try to secure this line. That's what I should have done in hindsight. I did not do that. The second issue was grabbing this deer and this deer quite late. Yes, it's already 10 minutes, so that's an issue. Third issue is that if you pro scout this late to try and get food, then you also have to wander through a lot of troops. So he's got already 11 troops at this point in the game. My pro scouts now have to wander through a bunch of troops to get the deer back home. And the way the map is laid out, as you can see, I can't just do a straight line. I can't just walk over there, grab the deer, and walk back in a straight line. No, his army is already here. I needed to go all the way around, grab the deer, and then all the way around back to base. And as you know, as of the patch from last year, the Pro Scout nerf, deer loses food as it's being carried by the scouts. So not only is the travel distance increased by having to go all the way around rather than straight back and forth, I'm gonna also lose food as I grab it, which makes it even less worth. And then there's troop in the middle from his side, which can contest my Pro Scout. That's a lot of disadvantages. That's a lot of ways that makes Pro Scout not worth at this point in the game. Takeaway lesson, if you were to learn anything from this game, learn that the earlier you get Pro Scout, in fact the fastest you can get Pro Scout, is the better. Doing Pro Scout now is not worth. It is definitely not worth. Especially on this map with the way it's laid out. With the way everything is laid out, it is not worth to getting Pro Scout. So if you want a Pro Scout, always do it early, unless you're Dally. If you're Dally, you get it for free. You can do it whenever you want if it's appropriate. But everyone else, no. It is not good to get Pro Scout late. You get that shit early, as fast as possible. One thing you have to think about is that if you get Pro Scout late and you get it past 8 minutes, 10 minutes later on in the game, they're gonna have troop. And those troops are gonna be able to attack the slow moving Pro Scouts. There are just better ways to get food. If you think about it, the Pro Scout research is 150 wood, 300 gold. That's plus together is 450 resources. That means that with 450 resources, I could have used this on a bunch of farms. How many is that? 2, 4, 6. I could have had 6 farms. I could have had 6 farms. I could have had a whole bunch of other things. I could have had troop. I could have had an outpost. I could have had a wall with that 450 resources gathered. I could have even had enough stone for a second TC even. So that's an opportunity cost that I have to think about. Here, I try to gather the berries because the deer felt quite unsafe up front. Even though they're kind of actually next to each other. But I felt more safe gathering the berries than pushing all the way up into here. we take a fight. He's actually quite good with his positioning. He kept his troop behind this line, as you noticed earlier. And because of that, my outpost does not cover it, as you can see. My outpost covers up to just here, just around here, and he kept his troop around here. Because he knows that if you try to push this outpost, he does not have the manpower for it. So in hindsight, this outpost, while not exactly in a good position, I reckon I should have built it here. And of course a wall over here would have helped as well. But it did manage to deter this attack and push him off. My opponent makes a white castle, or a white tower, right here. As you can see, this covers a lot of things. It gives him the forward map control. It forces me to go all the way around this side if I want to go raid and harass him. It covers both his gold sites, here and here. And it's close enough to this gold site that the white tower can cover with troop later on. So overall, I think this white tower placement was very good from him. This forward white tower placement. It sees into the stealth forest over here, so no hiding troop in there. Here I try to build an outpost. I needed to secure this area. I needed this food. I was rapidly running out of food. The pro scout was barely working out. And these deer, the ones that I got on these pro scout, they were bleeding food all the way to here. I needed food rapidly, and in my panic, I didn't realize there was food here and food here until later on. I think I wasted way too much time trying to secure this food source. What I should have done was immediately go to here and get this, get the boar. If anything, a good play also would have been to just get the fish line. There's all these shoreline fishes over here. And it's actually not that hard to defend, because I could build a wall here, and then I could build a little wall here. And that would actually wall off this section for me so that I can safely get food and not get raided. Even if he comes into raid, I have time to respawn. Because that's what walls are for, right? Walls are good at slowing down your enemy, impeding their movement, giving you time and delaying them. They are good at slowing down opponents because they do need to destroy the walls to get in, and that gives you time to react and run. His trebuchet comes out of the white tower. He's got an outpost up here as well, gaining 20% attack damage. The siege begin. It is a slow push, as you can see. It is a slow push to my base, where I had to gather my troop. And he's got way more troop than I do. I had run out of food. His food production, as you can see here, his food gathering, 1,140 in Castle Age. Very good, very strong. Just so everyone knows, by Imperial Age, once you've gotten all your upgrades and gotten everything and gotten all your villagers out, around 100 to 150 villagers, any number in between there, your income per minute is roughly around 2,000 resources plus per minute. That's the upper limit. That's the upper end, the aim goal, the aim finish of how much resources you can gather. So having 1,000 resources from here, 1,500, 1,490, but 1,500 gold. This amount of gold income is almost Imperial level. And so he pushes in with his stronger military and wins. Lessons. What can we learn from this? 1. Do not YOLO Pro Scout. Pro Scout, that's an early game thing. It's not worth later on, and the later you take it, the more likely that your opponent will have troop on the map. They'll have military, they'll have units, and they'll be able to contest your scout easily. So using Pro Scout as a way to gain food because you're running out of food later on is not the solution. Pro Scout is what you do proactively. It's what you do before you run out of food. You don't do it when you run out of food later on near Castle Age. 2. Be wary of food sources, especially if you're playing a Civ that is food hungry. Because a lot of Civs in this game, if you run out of food, you die. You pretty much lose when you have no food. And if you're playing a Civ that is food hungry and needs the tempo, needs the food, needs all of that to apply pressure over and over again, then being wary of the food sources is paramount to winning the game.